Well, you've seen the reaction of several communities to the president's speech last night, particularly around announcements about the army being deployed to fight gangs and illegal miners, the new interventions in water problems, and all of the other announcements. At the same time, though, the speech may tell us a few things about our politics and the president and the position of President Cyril Ramaphosa within it. Mondli Makhanya is a veteran editor, co-host of the This Is Politics podcast. Mondli, good afternoon to you. To watch the president, to read through his speech again this morning, is it just me? Was he maybe a bit more assertive last night than he's been in the past?
No, certainly, Stephen. But before I answer, I must just say, kind of like watching the last half hour of your show, I don't know why anybody would want to be president of this country. You know, it's like one after the other, rather than. But anyway, so I think, you know, just even from the demeanor of the president last night, it was very clear this was a much more confident person from the time he started speaking and lasting throughout his speech. He was a man in charge, a man in control. And a lot of what he said, I think we'll go into that during the course of the conversation about some of this, the things he touched on and undertook to do. But I think just to go back to what kind of like I think that is the reason for it, like why he feels that now he can be this confident person, that he can actually go about implementing the agenda that he's wanted to do. I think basically one can firmly say that he has now totally won the battle within his political party. He has totally won the battle within the ANC tripartite alliance, ANC-led tripartite alliance. And I think a pivotal moment would have been last year, towards the end of the year, at an NEC meeting, when at the end of the meeting, you know, before the meeting for a few months, that rumors had been brewing within the party that there was going to be a challenge on his presidency at the National General Council, which was coming up in December, and then so he moved during that NEC meeting to shut down any iota of any rebellion by daring the people who were supposedly behind this mutiny to come out in the open, challenge me, do not be cowards, come and take me on. And I think that, and by doing that and by letting that also just to leak through the media, I think he asserted himself very strongly within the ANC. And by the time he got to the to the NGC, he was now fully in charge, and he ran that NGC like his NGC, and I think you've seen that in his department ever since. Like coming into January 2026. Like the Cyril Ramaphosa that you are dealing with in 2026 is a much more, as I said earlier, a confident man, a man who feels that I can do what I need to do now. And just to kind of like, I think I skipped also, I think a major thing is also that the Communist Party kind of like has always been a problem in the thorn, a thorn in the side of ANC presidents. Now he does not have to deal with the Communist Party. The Communist Party is pretty much a spent force insofar as South African politics is concerned. They may shout and say they want to contest the elections and so on. So I think that what Cyril Ramaphosa is now able to do, including some of the reforms, liberal reforms that he spoke about last night, he can do so without fearing any significant backlash from within his own political party.
And isn't it interesting that at the same time as he seems not all powerful by any means, but more powerful, more politically powerful than he's been probably through his whole presidency, and yet the ANC has probably never been weaker. I mean, is there a strange kind of duality, whereas the ANC gets weaker, he almost gets stronger?
Yes, no, definitely. And I think that a lot of people in the ANC resent him for that. I mean, like other leaders in the ANC resent him for that, because he has what Cyril Ramaphosa was able to do in 2018, and something that he later wasted, was that he was able to unite the nation behind him. As soon as he took over as the ANC president, and then obviously then went on to become president of the Republic, he gained great acceptance beyond the ranks of the ANC. So he became a South African leader rather than the leader of just the political party. And he has he's maintained that. And I think that in as much as people kind of like will criticize him for weakness and so on and indecisiveness, and I mean like he's not very well regarded in terms of his record in being decisive. But the thing is that the unanimous thing that in South Africa, the message that you get is, okay, then who else? So as the party declined, he's been able to get that thing like, if not me, then who? And I think he's been able to play on that. And I think that what also happened was that him being able to drive through the Government of National Unity in 2024 and almost kind of like he's tried to craft himself as the latter day Nelson Mandela, and now he's busy working on the national dialogue, which is like he's crafting himself as this guy who rescued the country from the brink, and now he's trying to recreate that united nation again. And I think that his standing, regardless of the weaknesses that he has, will remain, because I think he has created a platform for himself, a persona for himself outside of the ranks of the ANC, within business, within the other sectors, and also just as a statesman outside of South Africa. And I think that allows him to basically to survive the vagaries of being an ANC leader and the leader of a declining ANC at this particular point.
I mean, I've been watching as much as I can, because most of it's not visible, what seems to have been the kind of campaign of Deputy President Paul Mashatile. And it is perhaps the greatest weakness of Mashatile that he is not the obvious successor to the kind of situation Ramaphosa has created around himself.
Well, you see, I think Mashatile is a very smart politician. I don't think we should underrate him at all. Because I mean, like he is almost like, I mean, like, if you can use a kind of like a boxing example, like Floyd Mayweather, he would never step into a ring, into a fight, which he would never have been able to win. He knows how to calculate. And I know there were speculations at some point that he might challenge Ramaphosa, that he might have been one of the people who might have been wanting to challenge Ramaphosa at the NGC and so on. But Mashatile would never play that game. He knows that there is no guaranteed win in a battle like that. And so he will bide his time until 2027. He's very happy to be where he is. He's very happy to play second fiddle and be assigned tasks by Ramaphosa, and then get into the ring with whoever it is who is going to be challenged, who is going to throw their head into the ring in 2027. But the thing is also, what we need to take into account is that the field is so wide open for this, for the presidency of the ANC in 2027, and it's no longer the case now that like the deputy president of the country necessarily needs to be the president of the ANC necessarily needs to be the deputy president of the ANC needs to be the president of the ANC. Because I mean, like even Ramaphosa in 2027 and in 2017 had to fight very hard to actually succeed Jacob Zuma. And the same, I mean, like he had to fight very hard in 2022 to keep his position. Yes, I mean, like he wasn't comfortable against Zolim Kize, but he had to put in a lot of effort. So none of the people, including the deputy president of the ANC at this point, expects this to be a walk in the park. And he is not a shoo-in at all. I mean, like I think there are going to be so many dynamics between now and December next year. And also, I think the other element that we also need to take into account is that, and these people need to be realistic about it, is that the next president of the African National Congress is not necessarily the next president of the Republic of South Africa. So when they get to 2029, it is not guaranteed that you will be president of the Republic. You will have to make deals with certain people, kind of like with other parties, because the ANC will likely to be in their 20s at that particular point. And so Yes, an ANC president may become the president of the republic, but it will be a much more weakened president. But also, that president of the ANC may not be president of the republic, because the other parties may actually want somebody from whichever party is second or third in the standings to actually take over the country. So a lot of energy is being put into a position of victory that may actually be Pyrrhic. But also, I think we as South Africans are also putting so much attention on the ANC's presidential race. I mean, like, which we should, because it is still the biggest party in the country. But I mean, like, we are doing so in the belief that that's where our next president will probably come from. And I think it probably will not be the case.
Mondli, I mean, just to change gears a little bit, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just the local situation in Joburg around water and the water crisis we've seen this week, and the fact that there is a local election at the end of the year, we presume. I mean, is this damaging the ANC? If you look at all of the people who have been deployed to deal with it, so we have the ANC's Mayor, Dada Morero, although he no longer leads the ANC's Joburg region. We have the Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, and what's already called Hotel Gate. We have the Water Affairs Minister, Pemi Majordina. And yet promise after promise has been broken. And that's partly because the system is so difficult, but I think it's partly a political communications crisis, because I think it's a mistake when you're dealing with something as complicated as Joburg's water system to give residents promises, to give them deadlines. You know you're not going to be able to keep them.
Yeah, just speaking empirically, I mean, just empirically from kind of like what the polls are telling us, and also speaking anecdotally, I think the ANC is tickets in Johannesburg. Huh. Its brand is so badly damaged has been so badly damaged over the past few years, and even longer than that. I mean, like, I think even worse than the damage that's been done to the ANC brand nationally. And it is because of exactly what you're saying, kind of like failed mayor after failed mayor. And even though the city was run by Al Jamaa during a certain period, everybody knew that it was the ANC actually running Al Jamaa. So everybody, I mean, like, the citizens of Johannesburg blame the ANC for what they're experiencing. And it is not the people you saw protesting yesterday and people who were making jokes about suburban protesters. It is people in the core constituencies of the ANC, people in Alexandra, people in Soweto, people in Diepsloot. People are feeling extremely betrayed by the ANC. But the ANC, it does not seem to have woken up to the fact that do not make the promise unless you actually have the plan. And once you have made the promise, do carry through with it. I mean, like, you can, as the old saying says, you can fool people, can only fool people so many times. And I think they have actually taken people for granted. And the damage to the brand is immense. You know, the one thing that the cynical thing that the ANC did last year, I mean, like, it's not the ANC, but the ANC-led council of the city of Johannesburg, the cleanups that happened during that period, where they actually, and even gave the promise that, this is not a cleanup for the G20, it's a cleanup for the city. We are going to sustain this thing. And in January, things had reverted to where they were before November. And you know what that does? So people remember that, and it goes into conversations. It's in conversations in bars, it's in conversations in shippings, it's in conversations in taxis and trains and buses, and people do talk. And in this day and age where you not only have just the mediums that you and I grew up using, newspapers, radio, and television. People now, that democracy is in people's hands, and people are talking about this. They're talking about it, and it will have a massive impact on the ANC's performance this year. And I just want to add that, kind of like what impressed me. I'm just kind of like taking back to our conversation about the president, what impressed me about the speech last night was that it was not just a promises speech. It was not just a pledges speech. It was a very honest speech. And that was the strength of it, in that he didn't hold back about the state of the country, where we're at. Dwelt a lot on crime, like how unsafe this place is, and with a view to saying kind of like that this is why we're making the interventions that we're making. Was very strong on the water situation, blaming poor infrastructure, poor planning. And he was very strong on failed municipalities, which are mostly ANC municipalities. So, and I think, yes, and he did go on to make promises because he has to. That's what the state of the nation is. You do have to lay out a plan for what's coming this year. And also it is an election year, so you have to put in some meat for the ANC's manifesto that's going to be put together over the next few months. But I think it was realistic, but not hyperbole,
Yes.
like a lot of SONA speeches have been in the recent past.
Mondli Makhanya, good to hear your views. Really do appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. The veteran editor, Mondli Makhanya, also co-host of This Is Politics.